Hey everybody, I'd like to start this off by saying that this video is for adults 18 years old or older. The content on this video is for entertainment and educational purposes, are my opinions on what I've seen and have tried out in this endeavor. Please follow your local laws. Hey, it's me. I'm a brand new home grower, and it's the middle of the winter time. I grew last year out on our deck in the back, which was very enjoyable. It was photo periods. I was growing some autoflowers as well to try that outside. They kind of freaked out by the extreme weather of being on a deck, to be honest with you. 50 degrees at night, 90 degrees during the day. Nobody would set their tent at that. They did quite well though. Very hardy. Nancy's own, or the genetics that I was using and still using right now, as a matter of fact. We'll talk about that in a second. But we've got a very small space that I'm working with. It costs next to nothing to get going, and the results have been pretty surprising. So let's take a look. First of all, the other day it was 21 degrees below zero outside, and this glass was just frosting up. So I put a covering, it's actually a poncho that I used, and some quilts around the bottom to keep the draft from coming. But this little area, it's 1 foot wide or deep and 2 feet wide. Actually have 7 plants going in there, and it's wrapped with, it's a food grade bubble wrap that's coated with mylar. Mylar is super reflective, 99% reflectivity, plus it's a bubble wrap insulation. So it really helps keep the heat from the lamp inside this little enclosure. I don't know if you can tell, but right there, Arrow Garden Pro 100. This is a 21-year-old herb garden setup. I kind of disassembled it to make it work for this side-by-side grow. I've got the light hanging from heater vent right there. Got air circulation going on in here, plus humidifier. So it's been very nice in here, and these have been holding up quite well. So let me tell you a little story. The other day I was kind of adjusting some stuff, and I had a huge accident. If you look right here, you can see these hooks are kind of just held in there in a little kind of hole in the thing, but it's not screwed in or anything. It's just held on, and it's, like I said, a kind of a cantilever thing where it's just the weight of the lamp that's holding it. And then I got it tied up to this vent up here. Well, anyways, I was using some different hooks at the time. These, which don't have quite the same kind of a hook on the end, and also are stainless, so they're quite slippery. Well, this lamp flipped right upside down, right on the plants on the inside. Needless to say, it was a freak out. So needless to say, like I said, I freaked out from it. The plant, my biggest one at the time, was on the hydroponic side. And I had taken, if you looked at some of my previous videos, what I did is I took some of the pods out and planted them in the wet living soil because they were very floppy. They had good roots coming through, so I just put them in there, kind of do a side-by-side comparison. But the one biggest one on the hydroponic side was flattened. I freaked out. I kind of propped it up a little bit with a stick for a couple days. But you'll be really surprised to see what happened. And about the same time, I got a question from a guy at another channel that I watch quite often. His name is Mo Buds 413. Check out his channel. It's great. He asked me, do you ever super crop an autoflower? Well, I did accidentally. You have to see the results. Because now, what I did is I super cropped them all. Let's unwrap this thing so you can take a look at what it looks like. And just to put in a correction here, it's Mobuzz 314. Sorry, dude. Mobuzz 314. Right here on YouTube. So anyways, let's start over with the one accident. Please note, is by far the biggest plant on the hydroponic side. If you look down here, you can see that at the very base where it was bent over and smashed, basically right in here has turned into like a knot. Well, then I bent it up here. You can see what's happened. Whole stem has gotten bigger. It's kind of like a response. These things are very durable. As you can see, the plant is doing quite well. No signs of flowers yet. But I was like, here was the other plant that was just as old and just as big before that accident. And if you look at it from this side, you can kind of see the comparison of sizes. So it's like, well, guess we're going to have to try that with the other two. This one I left alone. If you saw my previous videos, excuse me, it was quite the little stubby. In fact, that's what I named him, a stubby. Now it is basically tripled in size in the last few days. That's one thing about these genetics. It's very fast growing. This one right here, I super cropped at the bottom and actually basically bent it, and it didn't snap. But I figured, well, I'll prop it up with the block wood. Let's see what it looks like in the next day. Look, these things are super durable. Now we'll go over to the living soil side. Now these plants were all, like I said, they came originally from the hydroponic, so in these plugs. They're very floppy and very long. And if you'll notice, and if you saw the thumbnail that I put up, or I will put up, I basically super cropped them and bent them over, and just tied them down with a paper clip. Okay, yesterday they were flat. This morning, 8 hours later, they were all bent towards the light. You can see in here, I'm talking in 8 hours. Okay, now what's interesting about this pot is, one, it does have a water reservoir down here on the bottom, so I can water from the bottom as well as the top. I'm real low tech when it comes to this. I basically will stick my finger in there and see how the soil feels. I watered it just last night after I bent these things over, and it's fine right now. You'll notice I have a nice layer of mulch. Kind of looks like you would find in the woods. Please notice right there. Let's see. Right there. That's natural fungus that came from my backyard. It's helping the soil grow more crazy. I did put some of that in there. Now this, not a bunch of weeds. It's actually the cover crop. I planted this on purpose. I trimmed some of it down the other day. There's a bean. You can see in here there's clover growing. There's ryegrass back there. These aren't weeds. This is a cover crop that's on here on purpose, because as you see them getting up higher, you clip them down, and it becomes the green part of the mulch. You want to have green mulch. Besides that, all of these plants fix nitrogen into their roots, into their plant cells. So in another week or two, we're going to top dress this pot. And we're going to see if that doesn't help regenerate the soil even a little bit more. We want to do that right around the time when these things get into flower. But let me tell you this. This pot grew a photo last summer on the deck. I let it freeze outside. I thawed it out, brought it inside, watered it, planted these plants in here, and I've only added water. So that tells you the strength of this living soil. Nancy's own. These are what she calls grimy bubble gum, and some of them might even turn pink. So that's the living soil side. The soil blend itself is a Coots blend recipe that I got off of Build a Soil. You go on their website, just look up living soil. There's actually a video on YouTube by the main guy showing how to do it. It's basically peat moss, pumice, and worm castings. If you're going to get worm castings, Brute Worm Farms is the place to go. So over here, this plant is kind of interesting. I just wanted to point this out. Alternating nodes. It's a mutant. We'll see how that turns out. So quite amazing how we've gone the last couple weeks, to be honest with you. And this is not anything that anybody else can't do. Look, it's 1 foot by 2 foot on a desk in a room with a light. And the seeds from Nancy's own were free. Thank you, Nancy.